decision to glorify your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Looking over the work session, we have discussion of grants. We have Brad on Zoom. Brad, can you hear us? Well, wait 1 minute. Sean is out as well. He is joining us on Zoom. Sean, can you hear us?
I'm working on that audio. We'll get that pulled up.
Okay.
Almost got it for you.
Okay.
You can't hear us, we just can't hear him quite yet.
Okay.
I can work on that.
Is that Sean and Brad?
See, looks like right now just Sean.
Okay. Brad had texted me and said he was in.
I have only seen Sean so far.
I have no idea.
Did he create an initial agenda?
No, I mean, but
Because we said we had created that.
I just asked him, is he on? He had texted me 2 minutes ago. Hey, we do not have you. Did you should have 2 invites. Click on the earlier one. No, did you use the invite that Megan sent? No. Yeah, she had sent it. You send that to him.
At some point in time today.
Hey Sean, can you hear us?
And we'll come back and move on to the next one. I have next on the list. I'll give you. Hang on. I didn't, Megan did. I'm going to give Megan my phone.
You can hear him?
So this is yes, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back through this.
Okay. How about Brad? You have him? No. Okay. Megan's on the phone with me. Yeah, go ahead. All right. All right, let's skip that one for a minute and we'll come right back to it. So let's move on to discussion of resolution for redevelopment powers. Mark, do you want to start this one off? I will. Folks, this has been in discussions probably 6 months at least, David. Can you cut some of that feedback down? Give me 15 here and there. Start from the technology. About 6 months ago, we had a phone call from David Branch, and this is David right here, and his partner Scott Jones had come to us to ask with Johnny and David Urban also, and about a potential project that they were working on the North Hardship, and it's a little different, but it's what these guys they develop and they look for strategic locations of 4-lane highways that are existing or on the future list of Georgia DOT. Because if you can get your larger projects around the 4-lane, you get much better than that because we're not having to worry about the streets. And so they came in, met with Jerry and I, others in the beginning, and they met with council individually to go over the projects. And I've had probably weekly conversation with these guys for the most part, just about every week on some type of topic with this. They've met with um, Thomas. They've met with State Rep Victor Anderson. They've met with State Senator Bo Hatchett. We've met with their attorneys. And this is the first time we've met the K&B folks with on the tax. Right. And so it's going to be different when you hear about it. You just got, all I've told council is keep your mind open. We're not here to discuss the project itself tonight. What we're here to discuss tonight is the ability for Bo and Victor to pass state legislation that allows a TAD. A TAD is a tax allocation district, which is what Cornelia passed this past November. That gives them the ability to do some things investment-wise. And the first part of this is to pass the state legislation. And in that state legislation, what it's going to talk about is it gives the citizens of Demorest the ability to vote yes or no in November if they want to have a tax allocation district. Y'all have heard me during budget time and other times discuss growing the tax digest because we are a bedroom community with a maximum of about $475,000 in taxes, and majority, well above the majority, is residential. We do not have very much commercial, industrial properties located in the city limits. This project has the ability to quadruple a tax digest because it's commercial, it's medical, it's restaurants, it's hotels, it's different things of that sort. There could be, some residential because some people like to live amongst these type of, but that discussion doesn't come until January or February of 2026. Because if council passes this resolution just on the idea of the tag, and then Bo and Victor get it passed, and Governor Kemp signs off on it. It gives us the right, this is the key, for just the citizens of Demorest to have a vote of yes or no in November when we have our city council elections. If it passes, we then will advertise a public meeting, and they'll have all their plans and specs, everything laid out for a public meeting in January or February of 2026. So, key tonight is first step. Pass or failure is second step. If it passes, it goes to third step. If it fails, it's over. So that's the main part of this, is what we need to understand.
But it would put it in the hands of the citizens.
In the hands of citizens, not in the hands of Habersham County citizens, just the citizens of Demorest. But it will be a far-reaching project that will be very beneficial for the county tax digest also. Because sales tax, property tax, ad valorem, inventory, employee, all of that benefits the entire county. So, that being said, Thomas, anything you need to add to that?
Covered it.
All right.
Should I?
Yeah, try it.
I'll try it up here.
I get you the.
Yeah, he's got the remote.
I've got the
Yeah,
remote.
let me turn that.
Okay.
This on right here. Once I turn it on, tap it to make sure it's on. Tap that.
And we're on. All right, Mark, thank you very much, Mayor, council people, and citizens. As Mark said, we reached out about 6 months ago, along with the Urban family, David, Brian, his son, and Johnny, David's brother, regarding our interest in creating a potential development that would be, right now, it's in unincorporated Habersham County. It is about 4 miles north of the current city limits of Demorest, which basically are at 365 at Double Bridge. And we proposed, we fell in love with this location. I fell in love with Habersham County as a little kid in the summer coming up with my parents going up to the lake. And I can remember as a small child passing Gainesville, getting to Habersham County and going, I'm in North Georgia mountain and lake country. This is different. And so it's always had a special place. And we started looking for, and when I say we, I'm gonna back up and I'll tell you very briefly, my company is a company called Artisan Land Companies. We have a wholly owned subsidiary called SSG Realty Partners that is a land marketing company that has been doing significant transactions, land assemblage, creating transformational projects for the last 20 plus years. And we started looking at Habersham County. We looked at the economic engine that is the city of Gainesville. We looked at, the things that are happening, and we thought there's a location at the intersection of, if you go up 365 and it turns into 441, right at Highway 17, 123, and that's where our site is. So I'm going to get to the site, and I'm going to talk about our proposed vision for the site, and then I'm going to talk about the benefits. But real quickly, I wanted just to say, what is Artisan Land Companies? Who is Artisan Land Companies? What do we do? What do we don't do? Artisan Land Companies is a land investment, land development, and land marketing company, and that's all we do. We identify what we call strategic sites in emerging markets, and we come in and we buy those sites on an all equity basis, which is very important. We never put a penny of debt on anything that we do. People in our business that have put debt on projects have many times rued that decision. When interest rates go up and markets change, being an all equity investor gives us the ability to take a long-term view, long-term perspective, and basically ride out ups and downs in the market. So that's who we are. And we are working with our friends, the Irvin family, Johnny and Brian and David, but we each have separate projects, but we both fell in love with the same location. So the Irwins have 10 acres at this location. We have assembled currently 147 acres, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and we're in the process of potentially expanding that to as much as 200 acres. So I'm going to kind of advance this. This is hard to see, but this is the site location. And one of the things that we kind of got excited about is we said, if you're going to do something in Habersham County, you've got a series of very vibrant communities, established communities, Cornelia, Belmont, Demorest, Clarksville, Turnerville, and then over in Stevens County, Toccoa. Putting something in the center of that clock where all of those communities can come to you, because we're going to try to create something that is transformational, that's going to enhance the quality of life, that's going to bring not only great restaurants, but also employment opportunities. And we wanted that to be convenient to everybody. So that's the general location. Let's see if I can advance this. There we go. This is the site right now. And if you're, let's see, do I have a?
It's got a red line.
Have a red line? Okay, so the city of Demorest is basically 4 miles south of this site. And so you come up and you get to this intersection. I can't point on the thing, I don't think, but basically you're coming up 365, turns into 441. When you hit this interchange with Highway 17, 123, which takes you over past Toccoa and intersects with I-85 at the Toccoa-Livonia exit, that road is going to be a major road. We think at some point the chances are good that it will get extended westward and eventually work its way over to intersect with I-75 so that it potentially becomes a northern arc.
But you're not promoting that right
I'm not promoting that.
now.
And basically, there are no plans to extend it. But the important thing for us is that segment from 441 to 85 is in place, and it gives us a key intersection with the traffic that's coming up 441 and going south on 441. So the orange parcels are the urban family parcel, and David, you and Brian jump in, but is it fair to say your vision is creating sort of a restaurant node, retail node at that point? The 2 yellow tracks we currently have under contract. We believe that we will probably expand the site to include the 2 green tracks. Those negotiations are underway. And the vision is to create 3 separate districts on the Artisan property: a residential district, a retail restaurant district, and a medical office technology district on the south side of 17123. I think that what we have proposed to Jerry and Mark and the council is sort of a 4-pronged package that would involve the city of Demorest annexing the Irwin properties and the Artisan land properties into the city of Demorest. It's 4 miles away. People said, well, how you do that? Because you got all these properties in between. And we have worked with Steve Gilliam and Kaylin Ailes, his associate, to confirm that there is a means under Georgia law for a city like Demorest to annex properties, in this case as far as 4 miles away, by the fact that the city limits of the city of Demorest currently touch Highway 365 right-of-way. And as long as the city, at what I call the end of the rainbow, has at least a half acre or an acre of land that the city of Demorest owns, and we're prepared to donate that small site to make that all possible, then the city can legally, I call it ride the rails, in a hub and spoke annexation that simply goes up the 365 right-of-way to this site and connects with the site that we'll donate. And lo and behold, the city of Demorest has just acquired a significant new commercial mixed-use development site. And to me, the exciting part is, if I'm a citizen of Demorest, is you're not going to affect the quality of my life in any way. I'm not going to have to deal with construction and development and traffic, but you're going to create a node with great restaurants and medical facilities that I can access, and my city can get the benefit of that new tax digest that's being created. So we're asking the city to annex the site, assuming we get the approval on the enabling legislation, which, if the resolution is approved by the city council tonight, the legislation would be filed tomorrow with the General Assembly, and hopefully we will get the approval before the General Assembly ends its current session. And again, to emphasize what Mark said, we're not here really asking to approve a project. This is very conceptual. The project could expand, the boundaries might change, but what we're talking about is not possible for the city of Demorest to consider without that enabling legislation. So the purpose of tonight is to say we've brought a project, we in the Irvins have brought a project that I think the city of Demorest sees great potential. And the first step is getting the enabling legislation approved. And then let's assume that that happens, it gets approved. Then we will spend the next 6 to 9 months working with the city, working with the city attorney, working with council to create a public-private memorandum of understanding that will spell out exactly if this project is going to go forward, and it's going to be, if it's going to be annexed, and it's going to be rezoned, and there's going to be a sewer delivery by the city of Demorest that would run up that right-of-way, that 4 miles up to our site, and would also create a tax allocation district. And tax allocation district is kind of complicated. Our team includes Mr. Jeff Koski, the managing partner of KB Advisory, who has done more TADs, Jeff, than anybody in the state of Georgia. I think that's a safe statement. When you do a TAD, you have to be very careful that you cross your T's and dot your I's and do it right. But what happens is when you create a TAD or a tax allocation district, it creates a tax revenue source that does not exist today. It doesn't touch the baseline current existing ad valorem taxes. All it does is it basically freezes those taxes at the base year, which would probably be 2024. And then as the project is developed and buildings are built, what we call vertical development, and those buildings create a new level of incremental tax revenues. Those incremental tax revenues that without this development would not exist can be used to reimburse the city for the cost of designing and running the sewer line, can be used to help the developers with site development costs and other things. And we also told Jerry and Mark and council that we, Artisan, would work actively to supplement this program with grants from either the state or the county level. But it gives the city the ability to significantly expand its sewer service. If this line is run 4 miles to that site, I think Mark can tell you from his experience prior in Gainesville, when you do this, then the people want to participate, they want to connect to the sewer, and then you can have a requirement that to do that, you have to be annexed into the city, so the city picks up those incremental tax revenues. So that's the proposal, is asking the city of Demorest to work with us to do 4 things: to annex, to rezone it so that this whole site is approved for mixed-use development, which would be a combination of residential and commercial, create the tax allocation district, and then do these, provide the sewer delivery. City of Demorest is already providing, Mark, the water service in this immediate area. You've got a big tank that's probably 1.5 miles from us. And the benefits to the city, I think, will be significant, and they'll be delivered in the best possible way, what I call non-disruptive growth, which gives the city the ability to grow its tax revenues, to grow its revenues from water and sewer service, but to have it all take place 4 miles up the road where it's not going to negatively impact anybody, but hopefully bring new restaurants, new retail facilities that will enhance the overall quality of life. And that's kind of what Artisan prides ourselves in doing, is going into a community, identifying a strategic site. We are not the ultimate developer, but we buy the site on an all-equity basis. We master plan it, we get the zoning, we arrange for the utilities and sewer, we prepare the land for the eventual vertical development, and our company has relationships with the best-in-class vertical developers in the retail, the residential, the hotel, the restaurant sphere, so that once we plan this thing, we're able to activate it very quickly by bringing in those vertical developers and let them do what they do. So, Mark, that's basically the plan. this is basically just telling you a little bit about Artisan Land, some of the projects that we have done. We're very proud that in 2010, our SSG Realty Partners subsidiary was retained by the Lake Point Sporting Community Partners to find their development site, which was 1,300 acres in Bartow County, that when we found it and assembled it and got it zoned, consisted of pine trees and open pit mining and nothing else. And if you go down I-75 to Red Top Mountain and Old Alatoona and look at it today, Mark, I know you've been up there playing youth sports. It is the largest youth sports complex probably in the world, certainly in the United States. It attracts 3 million visitors annually to youth sports tournament. It has been a phenomenal asset to Bartow County that has attracted all kind of other opportunities. So kind of that's what we do. And I will tell you, I think it's significant that we intend to put our company name on this project. It will be Artisan Park Habersham. We don't do that lightly. That puts us on the line to make sure that what we're delivering is a quality development. This just summarizes the 4 things that we're asking: the annexation, zoning, TAD creation, and sewer delivery. This sort of explains I'm gonna call it the arcane workings of a tax allocation district and how it works. But it has been one of the most popular forms for municipalities like the city of Demorest to support economically and foster new development in a financially prudent manner. And that's what we think will happen with what we are proposing. Again, this is basically showing the 4-mile route from Double Bridge Road up to the site. It's estimated that the cost of running that sewer line, depending on site conditions, is probably going to be, Mark, somewhere between $5 million and $10 million, I think is a fair number. And with all of that money to be reimbursed to the city on a priority basis from the TAD and also from grants, and also supported by probably low-cost GFA financing. So that just summarizes again what we see as the benefits for the city that we've talked about. And with that, I would open up, delighted to take any questions that anybody may have.
David, let me say this. One of the things, just to make sure we're clear on this, one of the things you had said was state grants or
County
grants. We're not looking to the county for any grants. I just need to be clear on that. We would be looking for items like that from the state, from the governor's economic package, where he goes to these different sites and announces what new industry is coming, somewhere to that degree, and of course, federal with that, with our grants writer, et cetera, with that. So, and I think Thomas wants to say one other thing.
Yeah, the type of annexation is not really a spoke annexation. Those were outlawed about 20 years ago. There's a particular provision in the law that allows when a city owns property that's out in the county, with approval of the county, they can annex additional property into that area, even if it is not contiguous to the existing city limits. So not often used, but it's there in the law, and Mr. Gilliam and I have talked about it, looked at it, and we're both convinced that it's a legitimate way to do this, assuming Habersham County were to approve it.
But the last thing I would say is hopefully our projects, along with the urban, will serve as a catalyst for the city to officially obtain the TAD powers. And then we will spend the next 6 to 9 months working out the details, and we'll either work it out so that it's a great deal for the city of Demorest, or we don't, and at that point it won't go forward. But the city will be armed so that the next project that comes along that you may fall in love with, you're ready to go. Is that fair? Any questions?
A project like this is something that's planned growth and allows us to say that this area is right for that. And let's what's great about this is we put it out to the citizens to vote on the tab to see if we need to even move it forward to the next step. So it puts it out to more people than just who's sitting here tonight. That's good too. Council.
We're gonna probably hang around for a little bit, so if anybody has a question privately, you wanna come up, come grab me. And we're really thrilled about the city of Demorest and Habersham County, and would really love to do something that would be a tremendous asset. And we look forward to working through those details.
This is Fargo's information. You guys, if y'all have any questions, thoughts?
So many. Yes.
What are you thinking?
Finances, $10 million, how we gonna finance this?
Well, you know, I think that this is the first step in that, seeing if it's even possible, because even if the TAD passes,
Right.
and then it passes first step here tonight, and then next step goes on the ballot, and then it would come back to us again, what does that look like, Thomas? Then we would start looking at finances and figuring out if it's possible. So any point during that process,
Right.
it can be deemed not feasible. But financing is a huge portion of that.
Absolutely.
But it also allows for growth outside.
My goodness, I was looking at some of the charts here. It says the TAD, all monies would go into an account until the 10th year.
Yeah.
From years 10 to 25 is when the city would start being reimbursed. Is that correct?
It's a great question.
I think, and Jeff Koski, let you weigh in, but, I think that sometimes the way it simply works is you create the TAD, you establish the baseline of the current property, and then as the incremental taxes come in every year, above that, then they can be allocated out in accordance with the development agreements and the people that have expended money. Is that?
That's right.
Okay.
But that's after 10 years.
Well, the TAD will typically has a 20-year or longer lifetime
Right.
cycle. So once the TAD period has eliminated, has burned off, if
Right.
you will, then all the revenues
Everything's up.
permanently come to the city.
So for the first year of that TAD money coming in, the first year, does that money come to the city so we could allocate to pay back the
That's right, yeah.
expenses?
When you set up the TAD, you set up a special fund that the incremental property taxes will flow to, and so once that money's in that bank, then it's up to the city to decide how to spend it, so.
Well, let's
it
talk
starts-
about year one. So
Yeah, year one, whatever that growth in the property taxes that occurred in year one, that's what flows into the TAD fund, and then it's up for spending if you so choose. Once it hits the bank, you can accrue it over time, or you can spend it annually.
Well, let's say let's hypothetically say that the city does take on some sort of debt to pay for such a project, and then those TAD funds coming in would pay for that debt.
That's right.
But year one, we could immediately start paying for that debt, not year 10.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
as soon as the money hits the bank, if
Okay.
you will.
Well, think about it. Some of these, so on this right here, it says, once the TAD expires, 10 years later, all of those new tax dollars accumulated the benefit of the city without restriction of their use.
Right, that's, well, it will be in the redevelopment plan that sets up the TAD, which you all will approve. You get to decide how long that you want that TAD to be. It could go out for 30 years to repay debt if it needs to, but it doesn't have to go that long. So when the debt is repaid, whatever that looks like, then you can close up this TAD. You being your body can close up the TAD.
Oh, and like shut the TAD down.
Right,
the debt
once
paid
all
for,
obligations are paid against it.
and then just regular tax dollars start rolling. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
following.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that-
right, so that on the back
Kind
end
of
of that's
dancing
right.
around my question.
No, so
I'm just looking at this chart that
Yeah,
says the first 10 years, everything goes into a fund.
It goes into the fund that
Well-
pays for our debt.
Right.
Right,
But
it's,
first year, we can use it to pay
We
our
can.
debt. Yes, we can.
'Cause
and
I
it's not everything, it's just the growth in the property tax digest. So the general fund continues to collect what it's been collecting at the base year level, which isn't a lot right now because it's.
But we're not collecting anything.
Well, fair enough, right, yeah, fair enough, that's a good point too, so.
The county would
I'm
still
following
continue.
your
Yes.
question on that.
I'm just, are we gonna be out for 10 years paying for this loan
No,
before
it
we
appears
start
not.
recouping
Thomas,
any money?
that's correct, right? We can start using that money on day one.
Yeah, whatever the incremental payments are, and that's one of the things that needs to be explained is that, let's assume the digest of whatever property is out there is $20 million. That's, the taxes on that first $20 million is not part of the increment. It's only after they begin to do development and the property begins to increase in value. So say that when it increases from 20 to 30 million, then you get the amount of taxes that's collected on that $10 million.
But again, it's gonna take, once they start, 3 years, 5 years, as it starts building and constructing vertical. Because again, there's not gonna be anything that first, second year really, it's just a shell of a building, what could be there. So it takes several years for that to start to accumulate that value. And Jeff, how is House Bill 581 gonna affect the tax?
I mean, it will potentially impact the revenues that flow into that. I mean, you know, every jurisdiction is gonna be different in terms of what that amount is that's impacted by that cap on the growth. So, you know, this is dependent upon the growth of this current property and the commercial development that goes on there. So unless there was for sale homes here, which there could be, there's nothing to say there wouldn't be, but you know, the growth in that commercial tax digest is gonna be based on what they build or the developer builds, and that will all be captured.
Yeah, okay.
What other questions y'all have, council?
So I know this is the first time really the county's hearing about this in public. My concern is what if the county does not approve this?
Then
It's just done.
then it's done.
We don't-
So really, there's nothing out other than just.
There's just a lot of steps you gotta go through.
Right.
And again, step one, tonight.
Yeah.
And then they will be presenting to the county at some point in time to get them, you know, after the state approves it.
Right.
Assuming it gets approved at the General Assembly, then the real work begins, and we'll be working with council and Mark and Jerry and Thomas to create a memorandum of understanding that gets real specific about who's contributing what and when and how the funds are gonna go and what we've committed. The TAD will create funds that are multi-purpose funds. They can be used to reimburse the cost of infrastructure, including sewer. They can be used by the developer to help with site development costs. What we as a developer said is that once we get the plan, once we figure out the final plan, and that'll be used to calculate the revenues that will be created from the incremental taxes, we as the developers will agree to a priority distribution of those funds to the city until the city has been reimbursed for the design costs and construction costs of that sewer line. And then we'll be able to share in it jointly after that.
And that percentage coming back to the city is negotiable with you guys, or?
Yeah, I mean, what we're gonna do, what we said is just that we will create a priority distribution, and our intent is to once we know the cost of the sewer line, and then once we can calculate based on the final development plan, the revenues, then we can kind of balance it out and say, okay, how do we share these incremental revenues in such a way that the city is getting a priority distribution until they've gotten all of those costs back. And so that'll be some discussion until we know the cost of the line and when we know the final plan, it's hard to say other than just conceptual.
And Jimmy, also know, without sewer, it doesn't work.
It didn't happen, right,
So they know they gotta have sewer.
right.
But one thing about this is, any developer's looking for sewer, and they'll look, not like something like this, then they'll start looking for as close as they can get to the city to get it.
Right.
And as we know what that looks like. What other questions? And I do want to say again that a tab does not affect our current tax district, only the tax district of these properties selected. So it wouldn't change anybody's taxes that's currently in the city.
It's gonna be very important for what these two gentlemen over here, the media, write, to make sure the public understands. I mean, they're gonna have a big night. Right.
Well, again, I think it's.
I appreciate it.
It's what I call, non-disruptive, growth. And, the TAD district is basically gonna be defined by that area at that intersection, determined by the final properties that are brought into that TAD. And it doesn't change anything for any of the folks sitting in this room, it doesn't change their taxes, but I think if we are successful and this program is successful, it's gonna make for a very much stronger city of Demorest.
Guys, Bo and Victor in the state of Georgia has very strict guidelines on this process. This legal ad right here had to run as big as it did in the paper. And of course, it wasn't cheap. And these are all required. And the documents that Thomas has prepared, Bo and Victor and their legal team have reviewed. This is a strict, don't mess up one T or one I. Otherwise, you go back. Their deadline is for this to be approved on or before the projected last day of the session on or about April 4th. So if we mess something up in this process.
Wait a year.
So, and again, we're just voting on step one.
So if we approve this resolution tonight, that does not bind us to this project.
Only to give the state the right to approve it, because y'all will be requesting the state to give you this power.
And that's the great thing about it, it puts it in the hands of the citizens.
Right.
With the ultimate decision in November. Think about it, we have 1,200 voters. And how many show up for a city council election? How many people will come in to make such a huge?
He got 4 more than that, didn't he?
Well, you got more than the other,
All right. Any other discussion?
No.
Thanks, guys. Thank y'all very much.
Let me say this, let me go back. If this is something y'all pass, please do not get up when the meeting is over, because we have to have your signatures tonight on every document that Megan has, if y'all approve that. So,
Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much, and we appreciate it. With your permission, I'm gonna give my card to the guys from the media in case they have any questions, because whatever comes out, we wanna make sure it's right.
Okay. All right, let's back up a little bit.
Thank you, everyone, appreciate it.
Brad, you're with us?
Brad is with us.
Brad?
can you not hear us?
Got any questions?
We got you loud and clear.
So Brad, we're
Good night, I'm
here to discuss the grants. And, hold on just 1 second. We're here to discuss the grants that you've been working so hard. We have Emily here with us too, that's been working along with you on those things. So Brad, we'll let you get started on that.
Brad, let's go. The first two, and then I'll send out your chart. No, I don't want you to do the chart yet. I want you to do the Georgia Natural Resources grant.
Okay. It's very exciting to have these large grants in front of us. Emily, you want to speak on the start if we accept these grants, of course, to start fundraising, to help offset those and remind us what it's for?
Yeah, so this kind of project, fundraising is primary. Everybody around here that's done it, the ones in Hall County, they've raised $800 and something thousand for their first playground in like 2 years. So it's doable. It's a project that I think corporate sponsorship is a big part, but also community sponsorship. There's a big outcry in the community for this kind of thing, and every little bit helps. Whether it's $5 or $500, $5,000, and it'll add up pretty quick. And these grants are a big part of it. There are only so many of those DNR grants that they give out for the surfacing. And it's a huge win that we got that for that surfacing, because it'll pay for the majority of that surfacing, that makes it accessible and also makes it more maintainable for the city, because you're not mulching it or barking it or graveling it every year and a half. So it's a great thing. I think I feel confident we can raise those funds pretty quickly.
And this is a huge step for our community to get an award like this on a park that's nearest one's 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic.
For sure.
I had to step out, so I'm not sure what Brad said, but the key to raising this $369,000 is that $159,700 and something gets to go toward that number. So our number that we have to collect and raise is $210,000, down from $369,000.
Mm-hmm.
My plan of what I would suggest is, once we're applied, we have applied for the next step of what we did, because in the letter in your package from the Department of Natural Resources, it says, congratulations, your Land and Water Conservation Fund grant application has been selected to move to the next phase of the grant approval process. And that's because of that man and that young lady right there, for what they did in pulling this information together. I gave them the idea of what to look like, and they ran with it. And that is a huge step, just getting to the next level. Once we get to that next level, we will formulate a game plan of communicating throughout the county to raise that $210,000.
I'm very excited about a project like this to move forward and let's get by that.
That being said, I just gave y'all each, Emily, I'll give you one of these, and while you're up, if you will give the media over there 2 copies of that. The folks will have copies of this later for everybody to see. Okay, go ahead, Brad, take it from there on your chart here.
All right, if you'll look at the grant update chart, you'll see the park that the Demorest Springs Park grant from DNR that we got selected to apply for with the National Park Service. So that goes forward. We have received notice of 3 additional grants from the Georgia Department of Transportation Alternatives Program, and they're marked by in the column, the status under the award, they say they've been awarded in the green there. So these projects are split into two grants. The first grant is for preliminary engineering, and the second is for construction. The first grant, we have awards for preliminary engineering for all three projects. And we've had the amount of the preliminary engineering estimate from DOT, and you see that they've awarded us quite a bit of money for the preliminary engineering, and they are going to cover 100% of the costs of that preliminary engineering because we're a small city, and that they've found some other funds to cover our portion. So those are preliminary plans that will take the next few months on to develop and design the projects that you all approved when we first started this process.
Fred,
And
let
then,
me step in if I may. Guys,
please.
what he's talking about is the 3 DOT grants that we put together several months ago of streetscape. They gave us feedback and approval on 2 of them. The first one is what I am calling City Hall, these 3 sides of City Hall, down Hazel to Holly, up Georgia Street, all the way to the top of the hill. That's the first one. They committed only the design and engineering money. To keep this in mind, they know what our total cost was in our projections. They do this one section at a time. Now, what's the odds that they would award us this much money and then say, oh, we're going to shelve your project, we're not going to do it? That could happen with the feds. Because this program that GDOT is under, they have a program that they approved in 24 that cities 5,000 and less most likely don't have the 20% match to do something like this. So they match our 20% through the state program. And we were told to dream big on this grant idea. And Sammy Smith, the former PR of Rainmaker, told me about the streetscape idea that they had done 09, 2011, somewhere back in there. And I took that idea and I called that engineering firm and said, this is what we're doing. And they came out and charged us probably $2,500 to help me put these numbers and these ideas together of where to do this. So we dream big. I would say between these 3, it's probably $9 million. And the third one, which is down 441 from Florida all the way up to the light at Demorest Mountain area, that's the one they have not approved yet, but they had some additional questions. Brad and I met with them and answered their questions, and Brad reapplied for that one February 27th, something like that last week. And the second one that they approved is Massachusetts Street to Johnny Mize to Georgia Street back to the police station. That will give the streetscapes, street lighting, power on all 3 of these projects like this. And so we had the 2 approvals, and then we should be hopefully hearing March or April on the 3rd one. So that being said, this man has gotten approved today 3 grants, 159, the 960,000, and the 600,000, which also include these total amounts of about $6 million. Then we'll get the 4th one when we get the other one approved. And his 5th one will be once we get the playground. And then he has a 6th one, which is very small, cybersecurity type deal. So that being said, he started in September, got all these turned in, 4th quarter, and I'm sitting here now with the city having 3 approved grants. When's the last time the city had any approved grants? I don't know. Anybody remember?
A long time since it's been this size.
So, this is real money. This is a real generational type improvement to the streetscape if y'all approve to move forward. And on these, we would owe Dave $30,000 per grant. Right now, he has 3 approved, and we need to accept the first one, which is the rubber mat, to be approved. So, each one that he gets is maxed out at $30,000. So, that's where we are, and this is a great job he has done, starting in September. Here we are, first quarter of 2025. He hasn't made a dime yet. He and I talked about it. And he's on the hook if when we approve, and we gotta see what's the verbiage in there. Is it we owe him, will we receive the money that's completed, will we approve it, accept it? So I don't know the answer to that, but did you look at the answer to that, Brad?
Well, it's significantly less for the 159,000. I think the percentage is about 3.5%. So it's significantly less than what you said for that grant. So yeah, we're excited because it's been a long time since Steve Austin and the $6 million man has been around, and I think we've brought it to you today. And I'm very excited because I don't know of any city our size that has gotten such a large volume of grants in a short period of time. So I really appreciate the hard work of the city council and the mayor and Mark because this has been a team effort in the pursuit of all of these grants.
Brad, don't forget the most important person. Megan.
Emily.
And Emily. The two
And Emily.
ladies in the group.
That's right. And Megan and Emily. That's exactly right.
Well, thank you very much. Council, what questions do y'all have about this exciting news?
Are Brad's fees paid out of the grants, or does that come out of our?
No, come out of our budget. Yeah.
But we'll research and confirm all that.
But what exciting news to have such huge grants in front of us. That is fantastic.
And when we had our first cityscape type thing designed, and it was really it was truly just a dream. I mean, I felt like it was a dream. I was on council then, Jerry was on council then, and it all looked so good on paper, but you sort of felt like it was never going to go all the way, you know? And seeing these numbers on the paper, you feel like it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Well,
We're going to have design and engineer plans.
Mm-hmm.
So then we'll be waiting for the second phase of that.
With a zero match, which is
With a zero match.
unbelievable.
Only match we have to come up with is $210,000 out of all these grants that are on the table.
So do we already have engineering plans for this?
No.
We have conceptual drawings and some of
And
this
it was
stuff.
just 441 then.
It was the parade route, pretty much.
Yes, exactly.
But this is phenomenal.
You guys, I wanted to give Dave, I wanted to give Brad his due on this accomplishment because this is huge news. And I didn't tell any of y'all until today. That's why I handed that out. I wanted that to be a surprise of the work he had done.
Wonderful.
So, thank you, Brad.
Thank you for the opportunity to work for the city.
Well, definitely a surprise. I was excited to come and hear about Emily's in the park, and then you get the DOT's grants on top of that. That's definitely something high to take away tonight. So tonight, we need approval on accepting which grant? Which one?
It is,
Both of them?
no, it's just one. It's gonna be right here, about a couple pages back. It says grant agreement with the city of Demorest, FY 2025 tire products grant. This is when you turn in your old tires, when you get new tires, you gotta pay that $3 fee or whatever. That's where this is coming from. This mat will be made out of retread tires.
And this grant's for 159.
We asked for 169, they gave us 159. I think we can find the other $10,000 to make that up.
They never get 100% of what you ask, just FYI.
Yeah,
Well, that's pretty close.
They do on our DOTs, will tell them to tighten up.
Well, this is for EPA
I
and
understand.
being marked.
EPD,
Okay,
ASPICS,
okay.
but yes.
Well, I'm very excited. Thank y'all all for your hard work on this. Council, do y'all have any, questions about approving this $159,000 grant for us to accept what we see?
If Thomas will repeat what he just told me.
The fee is paid as the funds are received by the city.
Okay.
So when the notice the bank.
Yes,
Say it again.
Thomas, can you repeat that?
The, Brad's fees are paid as the city receives the funds.
You know when we'll receive these funds?
That's a question for Brad. Brad,
What's the question? Yes.
on the, tire products grant, when is the process after we accept this? When do they send the funds?
Well, we don't want them, while I would love for them to send the funds right away, we need to make sure that this is concurrently done with our other playground grant money. And so it may be a little bit of time before they send us a check for this. But they have indicated that we can use it as the matching money for the park. So the only person who's in a rush is me, and that's tough. And so we'll get it right about the same time, I think, as we start putting things together for the park overall with the National Park Service approval.
Very good. All right. I'm excited. Thank you, guys. All right. Let's move on to discussion of Haversham Partnership for Growth invoice. That was tabled from last month. They did send over an invoice month.
Yes, and the next day, they just couldn't get to us that day, so.
I think we've talked about this several times, and this is our local EDC, and that's $5,000 invoice. Y'all have any discussion on that?
Has this company done anything for our city in the last few years?
They've been here 2 years now.
Have they
I'm-
ever done anything for us?
Yeah, it's just a partnership between Haversham and other independent folks.
I mean, they probably. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I got you, John.
Okay, so I met with them a few weeks ago to talk about this. First of all, I said I don't want to. We're not even going to consider 2024 invoice, and I asked them to send us 2025. We got a lot of things going on for the future of the city. Probably going to have a TAD campaign. Probably going to have a flossed campaign in the future, and this is not something that we can we can handle ourselves, and we need education to do this kind of thing. The monetary commitment that we have with them, was decided several years ago before I even got on council. And that's it.
They do look to bringing in different types of growth with different types of.
I mean, one of the things, when I pointedly asked when they came to talk with us a few months ago, what have you done for us? And they kind of threw it back to us. We don't have, saying a lot of things that we don't have, like a strategic plan. Well, that's something that we're obviously working on now. So I'm hoping that, the relationship with them, we're going to see at least some kind of benefits coming back that we haven't seen in the past from this group.
The other part on what they do is they work for the greater good of Habersham County. They bring in additional jobs, which creates sales tax. We get sales tax. Those new jobs that come here, they could move into a home located in our city limits, And again, it's about the greater good. We're very limited on what they can do for us now. They're working with this group on the project y'all will vote on tonight. So they've been very involved with them. And because we don't have commercial, industrial land that people want to develop. We have the sewer and the water. And so that also is bringing in, when they bring in somebody, not if it's in Virginia or Walmart's service delivery, but if it's in our areas throughout other corporate partnerships. So I think there's a lot of entities of what they can do to help overall for the county and for each municipality.
It does give us a seat at their table too.
And I would encourage y'all, we have monthly and quarterly meetings at 7:45. I can send you the invite, and you can come and hear and see, you know, any of those kind of things.
I'd like to attend.
All right.
So y'all feel like this is worthwhile to consider?
I do.
Discussion of update of payroll processes. First, Mark, before you get started, Megan, you kind of handle some of that process. If you want to
She
explain.
handles it all. Say something.
All. We had all. Do you want to explain what kind of problems you've encountered and why you would like some new software on this?
Problems, it's not necessarily problems, yes, it's more of, so currently, the way we do payroll is all paper. So we have like the time clocks that you punch, like.
You know the old timey ones? In 2025, that's what we're doing. Okay? And then she manually has to add all of it up. Is that crazy? We spend 8 hours a week doing payroll. We pay once a week. That's $14,000 a year for her and the 3 department heads to deal with on a weekly basis.
Okay, so I'm just trying to eliminate errors. I'm trying to save the city money, save our department heads money, and just move into a new century. Part of it is fraud prevention, again, saving money.
We haven't had any issues, luckily.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I was going to say that they were operating on 1980s technology for time in, and this gives the ability for it moves us into the current day as far as handling clocking in and reduction of errors. I mean, I know I've spent a lot of time with Megan talking about time cards and certain people that we've had in the past always had problems with their time cards. Well, it's because everything's being done manually.
You'll know that Megan and Casey are in the certified public manager class that I took last year. Megan got laughed at in class. She was not paying attention. She was not paying attention. She was adding handwritten time cards during class. And they laughed at her like, what are you doing? And so in this class, you have to come up with a capstone project. Something that you can come up with the idea. Here's the problem. Here's the hypothesis. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's how we found the answer. And here at the end of the day, here's what we did. So Megan came up with this idea. And so she's using this as her capstone project that she has to present in April to all of her class. And I don't know what I don't recall what Casey's is. I know he's told me, but mine was I did downtown parking. And that's when we came up with the idea of adding Piedmont's parking lots, since there was really nothing to build. That being said, this is how this came about. I've got three bids in this package right here. The first one is Tyler Technologies. That is who we use on all of our software in the city. And then we use ADP.
How much is Tyler Colors?
Tyler is our cheapest one. And there's two fees that you have. You have an upfront fee, then you have an annual reoccurring fee. Our total fee for them is, for the first year, is $13,260. And our ongoing thereafter will be $4,610. The way this works is called a geofence. Geofence, we set a sphere of range around City Hall, the police station, the fire station, the sewer department, and Brian's shop. And the guys, we upload on their phones a code. And they've got to be within that sphere to be able to log in and log out. So right now, when the guys get back at from 10 o'clock at night, they all have to go inside, punch a clock to get logged out. What they'll do is once they're driving back to the shop, or anybody that we're driving in the city hall that's on hourly, as soon as they get within here, they can hit that code. They're logged in. They hit it on the way out. So all these include what's called geofencing. ADP is a total of $14,300, and that includes the setup fee. And out of that $14,5700 is the one-time fee. So roughly $8,000 is the reoccurring fee. Paycom.
ADP, back up, ADP, we had a problem with ADP in there for 24, 48.
That's right, with the fleet, with the fire hours. So then we would have to have had a separate vendor that would be on top of that cost.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't like, Martin or I like either having to do it.
Because they like wanted y'all to time out at 12 o'clock at night and time back in, and I'm like, no.
Firemen said that, or one of the firemen said that it's common, they had to do it at somewhere else.
But I just couldn't imagine being in 2025 that they can't run a program that these guys that work 24 hours have to remember at 12 o'clock, 11:59, clock out, clock back in. No. So we moved on from there. Paycom is several pages back, maybe the last 3 pages, because the rest of that is all ADP. Paycom is, make a note about Paycom because the city of Gainesville uses Paycom, and her husband uses Paycom for their clocking in and out as a Gainesville police officer. So we started with those folks. They're out of Chicago, and bottom line with them is they are a heavy negotiator, but their fees are so high to start with. I don't get it. And matter of fact, they sent for y'all some brownies and stuff from Sugar Utopia for y'all to eat tonight. Speaking of them, I went, with all their gifts, they just cut their prices rather than having DoorDash deliver goodies for y'all. So, and so their price is $18,666, and then the one-time setup fee is round numbers $4,000. So call it $14,000 for them. And again, our recommendation is Tyler. They do all of our other software. And one of the things that ADP and Paycom would do is they do the payroll taxes, all of that too. And right now, Burton, our CPA, does that. Tyler does not do that. Because Burton does the W-2s, the quarterly, and our 1099s out to our vendors. So everything we have is Tyler, and it makes sense if y'all so choose.
Is Tyler capable of doing the W-2s?
They don't,
So
they could, but we haven't asked them because Burton is already doing those things for us. So we can get down to that kind of stuff and look to see, because once I want to just get in there first and see how's it going, how it changes her life. Because let me tell y'all want to know when she does payroll? 10 o'clock at night 10 o'clock at night most times, at home, on family time. I understand, but there's not enough time for that doing her 8-hour day in City Hall.
And we have funds for this.
Yes. It wasn't budgeted because I didn't know about it when we did that, but it's something that's necessary. I found it where I can get it and handle it, but it's something that we need to do, again, to bring us forward.
Council, any conversations on this? Staff recommendation to go with Tyler on this?
What if they forget to punch out?
So the process is like, they can even go in after they punch. It's just gonna, the department is gonna have to go back and approve it. So they'll put everything in, and then it's gonna send it to a department head. They have to approve it, and then they come to market approval. So like for the police department, their location will be set for citywide. Theirs won't be specifically the police department. So as soon as
They get
get in
the city limits.
they can fly in.
But City Hall, fire, and,
So many people.
yeah, and they'll have a recommendation. And we'll do several training sessions for the employees in here, they'll do it online, or a Zoom call, and everybody will sit there with their phone and train up on that.
I like it.
And if somebody doesn't have a phone, they'll be able to sign in on the computer.
Any other discussion? All right. Thanks for that. Thanks, Megan. All right, discussion of ordinance amendment for fire inspection. Thomas, do you want to pick this up? They're gonna do that.
This is just a minor change, changing timeframes, to make enforcement a little more effective and a little more efficient.
That's pretty much what it is.
Okay.
Right now, it's 90 days for your inspection, 90 days more, so it takes, it's actually, it's only compliance, it could take 2/3 of a year. Right now, we're cutting that back to a third.
Very good. Any discussion?
So this is first reading.
Yes. All right. So this last one is code enforcement, since we're running over time, I just want to do this during the manager's report.
Or do it, because it's Dave and Thomas.
Yes.
So,
Y'all okay with that? Okay, very good. All right, let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll move it.
guys, if we can move these tables out, please.
with us. We ask that you watch over us and our families as the storm rolls through later tonight. We ask that you watch over all of our city employees, and we ask that you watch over us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Sean, you still on with us?
Yeah, let's pick up the pace.
So I thought super flu, they all right.
All right, so we have approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions y'all would like to add? Maybe we can.
I have some minutes that's in your packet that is not included on the agenda.
Okay, let's go ahead and add that as new number 10.
You want to do that after consideration?
The minutes are on the agenda, I'm sorry. It's number 5, but I have some January minutes that are in the packet.
Okay, let's just add January then.
January 13th, 22nd, and 27th.
22nd of what?
27th.
All right, so on number 5, we're adding January 13th, 22nd, 27th. That's a modification to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Hey,
Thank you. All right. First is appearance and public comments. Please step to the podium. Anybody have anything to say?
You know my question.
What's your question?
Marie Evans, 101 Long Street, still asking about lot 82 that Johnny done. Nothing been filed yet.
Haven't talked to anybody.
But I just don't know whether or not sooner or later somebody's gonna file something, so I'm just making sure.
You know, Thomas, if somebody comes in and gives me a application, when am I supposed to tell the public? The day I receive it, the day you and I say, yep, this is everything we need in this application.
From a policy standpoint, it's a public record as soon as it's submitted. But that's not what you're asking. The law doesn't require you to post any kind of notice until before the public hearing. So sometime between when you receive it.
I can do it the day I receive it.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's when I receive it, we will post it.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That's not a problem.
Any other public comments? All right, well, none. We'll move forward with approval of the minutes. Anyone there on number 6? We'll entertain that as a motion.
yes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
All right, very good. We need a second.
Second.
All right, next is consideration of grants.
Hey, y'all cut out for a second. I mean, yes, on approval of the minutes. If you can hear.
Thank you. Next is approval of grants. We have one grant to approve and accept tonight, and that's the grant from about the tire products for the park for $159,740. And this grant has a zero match. Council, we need a motion to approve and accept this grant. Correct.
I'll make a motion that we approve the playground surface grant.
Thank you, sir. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Very good. That's very exciting.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next is on tab 2. It's the consideration for the resolution of redevelopment powers. We have talked about this. Council, do y'all have any other further discussion you'd like to add on this?
This just allows taking the state.
It does. And when it goes to state level, if it passes the state level, then it comes to the ballot. Council, we need a motion to move forward with this redevelopment powers resolution. Need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor to move forward with this?
Aye.
Thank you.
Gentlemen and ladies, this group, y'all approve that?
Thank you. And Victor will take care of it.
I will text Victor and Bo tonight.
Great. Thank you, ladies and
They
gentlemen.
will get all the signatures before we leave, and I will leave you in the copy.
How are you gonna get my signature?
We're gonna send the police by there.
They may have to bring it by, seriously, for you to come out, unless you want them to bring it by in the morning, but that's a fair question.
Okay.
What would you-
Send James. Tell him bring some dog food.
He's holding the thumbs up. He's coming.
That was a good one.
All right. Next, the consideration of the Habersham Partnership for Growth invoice of $5,000. Council, we need a motion to move forward to pay this invoice for 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with this?
Aye.
Thank you.
No.
Next is consideration of payroll contract. It is staff recommendation to move forward with a Tyler contract. Total cost for the first year will be $13,260. Reoccurring fee every year thereafter is $4,610 for payroll management.
That's a lot of money, but we need to. I mean, we're so technologically bad in what we're doing here, and this is going to give some relief to our overworked clerk, who I appreciate very well that she spends a lot of her off time, free time doing this. So hopefully this will alleviate some of the overwork that she's doing. So I make the motion to approve this.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? All those in favor to move forward with this?
Aye.
Mayor, if I may say, anytime I can relieve stress, that relieves my stress, when her stress is relieved. So,
All right. Next is the manager's report. Remembering back that we do have the code update to add in your report as well.
yes, that will be Thomas and Dave.
Okay, very good.
All right, we received yesterday $92,916 for our franchise fees from Georgia Power. That's up about $10,000 from the year before. And we have built in about $110,000 for franchise fees. And this is the time that this one comes. And the other big one that we get is the insurance premium that comes in October. We want to remind everyone of our retreat on Saturday. Remember, I sent out to the department heads, I've gotten Casey's back on the review of the overview from last year and things that we all were assigned things. And so Thomas will be there also. And of course, the 5 of y'all, Megan, Dave, and Casey, and maybe their assistant chiefs Brian is not, because we'll be doing in the retreat everything except water and sewer. And Jesse Owenby will be running the meeting part of the time too, with the things we're working on from that side. You've advertised the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and probably need to post that agenda, and I think y'all all have it. I've got it timed down pretty close from 9 to 5, and I will ask that you can try to keep us on track of that. You know, you, and it will be a working lunch, so we will take a few minute break and then just continue on trying to get as much done as we can. And then April 19th is our water and sewer retreat for that one. Andrew has made some changes to the yard sale. It will be Friday and Saturday, April 4th and 5th. So Friday, Saturday, and more information to come about that. I have ordered the inspections of the fire extinguishers throughout this building and the gym. They'll be here 2 to 3 weeks to do those. Today, y'all may have seen the notice about boiling water that started probably Friday back here in the Walnut Cedar areas. That is where Brian replaced a 1941 and a 1946 fire hydrant. And yep. So all in those areas that were affected, we did the testing at 1:30. We should get the results back in 24 hours. And after that time, if we pass those water quality tests, the ban will be relieved at that point in time. Starting tomorrow and Thursday, the completion of our 50, 60 something fire hydrant maintenance of those existing fire hydrants that we had problems with throughout the city and the county. That company will complete the last 7. And we have ordered the 6 additional fire hydrants through the ARPA money of roughly $35,000. So Brian will be looking at areas to see where we need to put additional fire hydrants. Once they were all completed, the county will be notified, and the city was notified of these 2 updates because they were out of service. At least one of them was out of service there prior to that. Our oldest one now is 1929, somewhere over that way, Dave.
So on the university population.
Yeah, 1929, and there's no cutoff valves over there. So we try not to touch it because that line runs all the way to the hospital. So, update on SCADA. They have finished what Essence was the Habersham side, and they have totally connected and up and running. The Demorest side is fully installed now, but in the next 2 weeks they're doing their final sign-ons, etc., from the technology side of it. So in 2 weeks we will have that project completed. I paid them through ARPA money $45,000 for the first part, and it leaves us round numbers of $103,000 to go. And so we'll be taking that money later this month, that invoice from that contract. We have paid out total of ARPA money since January of $152,000, being fire, the water model, SCADA, and the fire hydrants. So that part of ARPA being paid out in 2025 is well on its way. So with that, from Brian's report, they had 22 emergency locates. They had 302 locates. They had work orders of 265. They repaired and found 13 leaks. The water loss for the month, this is all for the month of January, not the month of February. But for the month of January is a little over 1 million gallons. And our total meter sets for the month of January is 20. And so that's 20 new meters that went in that month. So that's $60,000 that has been set aside. Remember, I set aside 2 new accounts to capture the new meter sales for line extension and things of that sort. So that money has all been transferred each time it comes in. And the other one is the fire hydrant. And when we get to the financials, we will discuss those, and that will be transferred tomorrow, January being the first month. So our water sales, we took 49 million gallons from Baldwin, 7.8 million from Tacoma, and our other well was almost 7 million gallons for a total of 64 million gallons. And again, this is the month of January. It's not hot. And we are, out of that 64 million, we lost 1 million to leaks. So we're out there with 63 million gallons of water at this time of the year, which seems pretty doggone high to me at this point in time. So, and last month we paid roughly $128,000 for that to Baldwin, and about $28,000 to Tacoma for that water. Emergency 911 calls, or whether it was water was 10 calls. Emergency calls on sewer was 4, and the streets department did 691 loads of debris and dealt with the ice melt, etc. We are in compliance with our wastewater treatment. We were in compliance with the drinking water system. On the fire, Dave, on the top of your chart, here you have 103 incidents on the top of this. See how nice his charts are. EMS calls, there were 62, which is 60% of his calls. We had 20 calls dispatched and canceled. Just looking through the bigger items of his day. So really it's the EMS calls, and there were 62 of those 103, and then 20 of them that were dispatched in.
Dispatch and council is a pretty big proportion here. Is that from security systems?
Alarm systems, and then sometimes we go to mutual aid, automatically somewhere before we get that second on the other one.
Okay. Tell me about this one, Dave, which is the training records.
That's a brand new record. We were able to finally equally have put together, and we know exactly how many hours we're doing out training. In January, we did 435 hours total within the department, just training.
Wow. What about the assignment? What does that mean?
That's kind of, it's just, some training is assigned to people, other training they pull, they say, we're gonna do this training today, it's not assigned to them like people in their office.
All right, the next one. This one here is the 44 fire code and property code inspections. This includes initial inspections and re-inspections for the business license portions. That's what you're needing, right?
Yes, that also includes code inspections, going to the property code.
So code enforcement was 64% of his time at 28 calls, and the general was 36%, and that's where you're doing the re-inspections and the inspections for the general business license, and he had 16 of those. Let's talk about other notes of interest. Tell me about Lance and your guys.
So Chief Juliet, Captain Nunley, and Lieutenant Hunter, several other of my guys completed training that we did in-house, and they are now state certified officers too. As I mentioned to y'all in the past, I'm a fire officer 4, they're following my footsteps, and they're halfway completed to get to the level of being certified as fire chief. Right now, they're technically certified to be a mid-level manager.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
what does it take to become the fire? How much more time does it take for the fire officer 3?
Officer 3 would be another 40, 60, maybe 80 hours, depends on what kind of training and study, what project that the instructor is.
Is that where y'all are going to next?
That'll be the next step, yes.
Okay, they tell us
We
about.
will probably not do that class in-house. We work with Chief Irwin over at Dawson County, who also works with us, EPA Dawson. We might send our guys over there for that.
All right, tell me about Lieutenant Bug.
Lieutenant Vogue is a brand new employee that we brought in the very end of December. Lieutenant Vogue works full-time for the city of Alpharetta. He is a Lumpkin County native, and he is a swiftwater rescue technician, a hazmat technician. He's already a Fire Officer 2, and he's a Georgia certified emergency manager. He's been in the fire service for about 25 to 30 years.
Fantastic. All right, then about Ross Jackson.
Ross Jackson, he presently works for the city of Baldwin full-time. He works for me part-time.
All right, well, great job. And congratulations, make sure pass that along. All right, well, the police department, again, this is January. Officers responded to 480 total calls, 6 domestic, 4 physical, and 2 verbal. Officers completed 10 incident reports. Officers responded to 15 accidents. Officers made 164 traffic stops and issued 50 citations, which is a 31%. And the officers completed 30 hours of training. Now, I will tell y'all on the financials, I am actually seeing these for the first time today. We got them, unfortunately, at...
It was like 4 o'clock. I mean, it was like...
Oh, I didn't get it at 4 o'clock. You may have gotten them on the computer, but I was like 5:30 or so when I saw these. And so we will walk through these together. And part of that is the way what Burton does is they carry it through. I obviously have January's financials, but they carry it through right over here where it says cash balances as of March 3rd, 2025. They try to reconcile that to the day. And since the first day to carry it through was yesterday, that's because they can't do it until they have the February statements to carry it through. So really you're getting really a 60-day partial statement here. But the biggest thing out of this is total general fund cash is 322. SPOS, we're at 303. Water operating overall cash, we're at 3.19. And the total cash as of yesterday, we're at 3.19 for January 31st. For March 3rd, we're at 3.5 million. So we're up about $450,000 there. Total operating cash is $629,000 between operating account of general fund and the water account. And total operating as of March 3rd is $969,000. You go down below that line, it's giving you your total water and sewer reserves of $1.9 million. Gives you our it gives our other balances being the total water, and then you'll see the average expenses. Expenses for the month of January for general fund, $219,000. Total expenses for water and sewer fund was $662,000, and the monthly expenses totaled up $880,000. I'm really surprised at our liquidity that went down in January from 2.01 to 1.9. That is a question I will need to verify with our CPA, and I will send y'all information on that. If you go to the next page, which shows our debt and our bond payable, it's showing you the amount we will be paying for the next 12 months, this being the first month. So all that lies in itself. And one of the requirements for the notes payable on the general fund is on the E1 pumper, that $94,000. It's been paid as of, it went out on Friday. The payment's due on the 15th. So there will be just one payment left of March of 2026 on that one. And the USDA note is the cars for the police department. That $46,000 will go out in August, and we will have one payment left for August of 2026 for those vehicles. So you can see the total debt of $9 million. The payments remaining for 2025, $888,000, and the annual payment amounts for $210. All right, when you start going to page 3, this is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This being the first month, there really isn't anything coming through there because this is our, some of our projections. If you go to page 4, man, that really gets small. You can see here where our taxes under the third column there is the annual budget amount in that column. And this one shows your current month of taxes there. And that whole column right there is for the first month of January. And you can see for the next 11 months what percentage you have left. We collected $232,000 in taxes in the month of January because it was due February 1st. So every one of these columns there for the month of January, we collected $283,000. Our expenditures were $296,000, which gave us a shortfall of $13,409. So we had a transfer of $69,000 for the month of January. That being said, can anybody remember when we've had a transfer for a month of $69,000? Normally it's around 200, 225, 250. Because remember, our max, because we lowered that amount from the 1.7 to the budget amount of transfers, round number here, 1.4. So we only burned 5% of our amount in that first month because of the cash and the additional cash on hand. We were able to expend that. So that's a big number because that hits our goal, guys, on the financial side of not taking transfers from the water department. But again, property taxes was a big hit in handling that. So the true test is majority of them, we're supposed to collect 471, we collected 232. There's still half out there to go in there. And they were due February 1st. So going to page 5, our first month of water and sewer income is $617,000. Our first month of expenses is $423,000 with an operating income of $194,000. If you go to the next page, which is page 6, our budget amount for the year is the 8.3 million of the annual budget amount income. And we did $623,000. So it was a very good month from there. Expenditures, our total expenditures are 6.5, and we had $484,000 of expenses. So it was a very good month. SPOS dollars, you know, we're coming in roughly $33,000, $32,000 each month on average. And SPOS will expire in first quarter of 27. So we're still on track for that. And with that, first quarter of 27. Anyway, any questions?
Code enforcement update.
I'm sorry?
Code enforcement update.
Yes. Let me just do this part first, and then it's going to be Thomas and Dave. Okay.
Anybody else?
Mark, are you saying that come March, without the property taxes being paid in, then you're gonna have to start dipping into the water?
Well, I did get $92,000 day before yesterday from Georgia Power. And so it just depends on what our expenses are each month, because I got given expenses, and if we have some other items that trickle through, those would be things I manage every day through our cash management with our local bank that I deal on these balances with.
It just sounded like the majority of the revenue outside of the water comes from the property taxes.
Oh, that is our biggest
Yeah.
revenue from, yes ma'am, that's $471,000.
And that's January and February you
Well, I
collect.
start getting them in, really, I start getting them in fourth quarter. People start paying in November and December, and those numbers get counted in that year end. But obviously they're credited on their accounts. And that's sometime where we have a carryover in our property tax from the previous year and the current year. Some people like to pay them before the year end, even though there's still time.
It just sounds like from about March to November, you're gonna start getting
I could, but see,
Sure.
that's our limited revenue. And
Yeah.
see, in October, I'll get about $165,000 check from the franchise fees of the insurance. And that's what our city has been funded by, and that's why we're trying to pull that back, increase in tax digest of other revenue sources. Because without that, because again, the annual increase will be capped. Now, remember, on our non-residential, on our residential homestead, but the others will not be capped. And so that's where you've had some local governments and school boards going, oh my, oh my, this is really going to limit my growth. And so, but again, it's not that much for us since we have, I want to say it was 81 maybe, yeah, somewhere around 80 properties that have a homestead exemption. But that is our number one challenge, is the general fund revenue sources.
And you're looking at the floss coming out on the ballot for us to vote on.
So you're gonna have two items on there in November. You're gonna have floss, and you're gonna have this tab, just for the city of Demorest taxpayers, if floss gets on the ballot.
And if it doesn't,
You only have tab.
no, what I'm talking about is if floss isn't on the ballot, it doesn't get passed, where's the income coming?
Remember, floss is only gonna roll back taxes.
Yeah.
It's not a revenue source. It's just
Hey.
reducing that amount. That's
Hey,
nothing.
hey, Marie,
Yeah, Sean?
can I break in? Hey, Marie?
Yeah.
You need to lobby your county commissioners, because last I heard they were thinking about putting another SPOS on the ballot instead of the FLOSS for this year.
Yeah, I've been attending the county meetings also.
But you're directly correct on the
Okay. Be on the lookout for that.
Thanks.
general revenue source.
All right, Thomas. All right.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through addresses and a brief summary of what the issues are at that property, and then give you all some additional information about what we're looking at going into the coming weeks and months, depending on the direction you all give. 105 Rhode Island, that one is basically an unsafe structure. It needs to be condemned and probably demolished. 133 Blue Ridge Avenue, that one it's in poor condition, but it's in process. The owner apparently met with chief and seemed amenable to doing what needs to be done. 159 West Central, what I've got in my notes is unsafe and needs to be condemned. 195 Rhode Island, they have requested an extension to get funding to do what is necessary to bring that particular structure up to code. 212 Florida Avenue, that is a junk vehicle in the yard that hasn't moved and apparently is inoperable. 292 Florida Avenue, that is that structure somewhat dilapidated, some paint and rot issues, but primarily there, I think the main issues that are health issues are significant amount of trash and debris, and then at least when the inspector was out there, the septic tank was overflowing. 297 Walnut Street, that is more aesthetic. There was a junk vehicle, that has actually been taken care of, but there's still trash, and there is a pool on that property that is full of water, but obviously is not maintained. 350 Holly Street is in very poor condition, but may be able to be remediated, and the owner is working on it. 279 Blue Ridge, at one point in the site visit, the utilities were not working, but they had said they were trying to get those connected, and they are working on some of the other issues there, and they acknowledged that there were issues that need to be addressed. 397 Long Street's on my list, but I don't have any information on that. Chief may have some information on that. 480 Holly Street, you've got trash and vehicles, but they have, there's been no response and no action after Chief sent the certified letters. 493 Long Street, there are significant issues at that property, but there we have an out-of-state owner. 647 Holly Street, that one is one that needs to be demolished, but it is pretty obvious that there's asbestos on that property. 176 Holly Street is junk vehicles and then some aesthetic things. So, Chief, anything to add before I talk about money?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 16 properties. We, as you all may know, we had something of a test run with regard to code enforcement and how that was going to work in court. And at the end of that process, I believe that the fees incurred were about $3,000. So some of these are going to be more simple and straightforward. You heard some of the property owners are working with, but some of these properties are going to require court action, and at least some of them are going to require demolition. What is often the case in these situations, and I think that David's heard from some of these folks, they don't have any money. There's a couple, in fact, there's at least one, I think, maybe two, that have said, we know we got to do something, but we don't have any money, and we're trying to get the funding to do something. You've got out-of-state landowners. In those situations, your ordinances still allow you to take action against the property. It's called basically an in rem action. Your lawsuit is against the property, and the judge can order it to be abated, and if it doesn't get done after proper notice, and that it's a process. We talked earlier about the amendments to your ordinance that shortens the process for fire inspection somewhat. But the process for condemning buildings, it's effectively a 9-month process with the notices and waiting and getting hearings and all that kind of thing. So you're probably looking at the ones that actually have to go to court. You're probably looking at somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 in fees, if not more. The demolition, a lot of these, I think, Brian's folks can do if they have the time. I believe they've got the equipment to do it, but that does not count the dumping and the tipping fees. The one with asbestos, Chief got estimates to do the test to determine what kind of asbestos is there. We're probably looking at about $1,200. Depending on what the test shows, abatement could be anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000. Most of the contractors that he talked with, until we actually have a court order on that one, no one's going to touch that building. So I tell you all that and give you the numbers to let you know your legal budget is, you all split it between general and water, $40,000 in each. And then there's a separate line item of $13,600 for code enforcement. I mean, it's an open record. My fees to date through the first 2 months of the year are a little over $15,000. And there's been some code enforcement in that time, but there's been no litigation or heavy work by me in that amount. That's all been general. So what I guess Chief has been going out, sending the letters, meeting with people, doing the inspections, and taking pictures, and he's doing the things that need to be done for us to take action. But we realized what this was going to entail and wanted to alert you. And I understand this was indicated something you all wanted to do, but now that we have real addresses and real numbers about what it's going to cost, I think that, I know I wanted, and I think the chief does as well, direction from you all as to whether or not, because it will require, at some point it's going to require a budget amendment. either in legal fees or in the code enforcement line item itself, but it's going to require legal fees. I mean, it's going to require a budget amendment. So you're probably looking at an increase of somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000.
And with that, Thomas, Dave was very sensitive about the budget, and I said, Dave, I don't need you to be sensitive about the budget on this. I need you to bring the facts to mayor and council. This is a goal that y'all indicated y'all wanted us to work on. I didn't want somebody to think that Dave was not doing his job with code enforcement because he was sensitive on this. We've got to get the numbers to y'all, and y'all gonna have to make some decisions, because otherwise, what do we need to do here? Because people complain about the dilapidated houses, trash, cars, all of these things. Now, if we tear down a structure, Thomas, explain the process of how we would leave the property, et cetera.
So that is a good point. The cost of, if we have to self-perform, the cost that the city incurs, including even if we self-perform with our own forces, the demolition, I would ask Brian to give us the names of the guys that worked on it, what their hourly rates were. I mean, you can assign a cost to the use of equipment. I mean, construction companies do that all the time. And so that would all be put as a lien on the property, so that the structure would be cleared, it would be taken to the dump, and it would be left with a level piece of property. And then the cost that the city had incurred to do that, if there's no owner to step up, would become a lien on the property. But I think it has the same priority as taxes, so it would go ahead of mortgages and things like that.
Thomas, if there is problems with the title work, because we would have to do the title work to confirm the owner of the property. If there are clouds on the title, how do we handle that to then put our lien on that property?
Well, if we don't know who or can't find the owner, then my recommendation is just simply going to be to file an MRIM action against, and then your ordinance requires you to do is basically send the best notice you can to the last known addresses of the owners. But you can still get an order from the court to address the problem on the property. And then you send that order to, again, last known addresses, and if they don't act, again, remember, that's the process that can take up to 9 months. Then you can self-perform, put a lien on the property, and if at some point someone comes along and buys it or what have you, then the city gets paid.
That was my next point is, that's only how you get repaid, is if they sell the property. Now, interest, et cetera, on this money, let's just say we spent $30,000, here we are 10 years later, still sitting out there with $30,000. What rate of interest accrual, et cetera?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. If you reduce it to if it's the same as a money judgment in Georgia, post judgment interest is prime plus 3. Whatever prime is on the date you get a judgment, you add 3% to that, and so today that's a 10% post judgment interest. That's pretty good investment actually. But
also just lost that $30,000 out of your budget, but you cleaned up the problem. What's the cost? What's the pros and cons to that?
Is this something that we're gonna discuss here in the retreat?
It's not on the agenda, but we can make some time to discuss it. The biggest factor is, we all know what our budget looks like. We all know we got shortfalls in there. Is this a goal y'all want to tell Dave and Thomas after we discuss it, move forward?
Dave has sent out letters. All the properties I read through, they've been given their notice to comply. So I believe for all of these, we're ready to move to the next step, but the next step is going to cost. So I guess one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you all when we had you all together was to get some direction as to whether or not you all want us to proceed, whether you want us to wait a minute until you all have a chance to discuss it at retreat, whether you want us to pick out the worst ones and act.
I think we have a short period of time for the retreat on Saturday, so let's just think about it, and then we can talk about it there for a few minutes.
But it's just gonna be for a few minutes because, I mean,
We have no time.
I understand. Don't
We got
get
no
stressed
time.
for yourself. But the other part to this, Ronnie, I know that Dave and y'all have worked on a piece, was that property that y'all talked about, was it on that list?
Yes.
Okay, and again, you brought this up several months ago, but the process is nothing quick. Because again, if you own that property, some people will feel the government's treading on me. You know, this is a very slippery slope, just like rezoning or something, you know, very slippery. Because again, some of these folks that are on that list, they've never probated the will, it's still in their mother's name. And they're a big problem. They can't serve the mom in a certified letter because she's not here. And so the son is not going to accept the letter because it's not to him. So there are a lot of legals, avenues that Dave and Thomas are going to have to do. Our first case that we brought in, I want to say Thomas's time, I'm going to give you a round number, was probably $4,000 for that case. What do we get at the end of the day? You know, he's not operating those businesses anymore, but it cost us $4,000 to go through that process. It's not cheap, nor is it quick.
But not all of them are that way, right? Some of them are just cars piled up in the yard.
Could be,
Some of them are just
yeah.
trash.
But the ones where there's a house, that's where.
Right, but I mean, we're hearing 16 addresses, but not all of those addresses are gonna cost $30,000.
No, the ones, the 16 that I read, I think there's 3 that need to be, that are probably gonna have to be torn down. There's 2 that it depends.
I just wanted to make sure we're all in perspective here, where you know, you read off 16
Yeah.
addresses, and then you pop off the number 30,000, and somebody's out there that's better at math than I am, is probably doing the math in their heads.
No, we're just saying that, and I hear exactly what you're saying. Everybody, this is just a worst case, and again, the more that have asbestos, the more it's gonna be. And some of these houses were built in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s. They're gonna have something in that house.
Your data point is, of the 16 I read, probably, let's take out the 3 that have to be demolished and just go with the ones that are general that we think we may have to take enforcement action against. That probably is, would you say 7 or 8 of those are gonna require some sort of court action? That 7 or 8 is what you multiply times 4,000.
Just for the legal
I
side.
mean, he's making a valid point that we're talking about a property that has a broke down car on it, non-responsive. It's $4,000 for us to remove a broke down car.
Same thing as no tag, etc.
So we'll wait. So what we're going to do, Dave and I are not going to do anything more right now. I mean, the notices are less than a month old. So, I mean, I would feel comfortable taking the next step within a month based on the notices that we've done.
Hey, Thomas, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So is there any liability to the city for properties that are reported as a health hazard and the city doesn't take any kind of action on?
As long, and I don't mean to cut you off, Thomas, and my understanding of the law, to answer you, Sean, is as long as we put proper placards on it saying it's an unsafe structure, and then we're covered, because we've identified it as a hazard.
Yeah, I think that the chief is right. As long as, I mean, at this point, all we have actually undertaken is to identify and notify. And at that point, the only real requirement is to give warning to both the occupants and the public of the danger of that structure. You don't, I mean, he's been on these properties, so it's not like you have a gas leak where there's an explosion risk or anything like that, where there may have to be some other issue. So no, I don't think that with what we have now and what we know now, no, there's no liability to the city or to Dave.
Even in cases where there may be a house filled with termites that's next door, and then the house collapse.
Yeah, that doesn't create, the fact that we didn't tear down and demolish does not create liability for the city.
Thank you.
Last thing, I'd ask Dave to purchase a body cam, so that he is wearing that, and especially when he's meeting with these folks, that he has that to back up what he is saying. So, good protection. Yeah.
So what's the final plan?
It's good protection and good evidence.
What's your question, young lady?
What's the final plan?
We'll add a few minutes to the agenda on Saturday.
I think she can fit 3 minutes in there basically.
Three, maybe, probably not. It'll have to go to 5:03.
Thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you. All right, do we have consideration to go into executive session? Yeah. Okay. On the topics of personnel, sir. Okay. We have a motion to go into executive session. Do we have a second? All right, all those in favor of going to executive session? All right.
Sean?
John?
Hey, Thomas,
Nay. Nay.
yeah, Thomas, Sean wants to call in, he can call in by phone to participate.
Yeah.
He did. Yes. Am I invited or not?
Oh, that's in there.
The one on Farm Street, that was 493.
Hey, look, I don't have it memorized.
There were two on Long Street, one of them 493.
The way she organized it is not double. We got 397 long.
493 long, that's the one that we're questioning.
It's over, that's the one that's got the out of state.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
He's in Utah.
What's the other one? What's the other
397, what's 397?
Yeah, what is 397?
I don't know 397.
Unless you're talking about my house, so I got a Facebook page.
What is it?
That may be, I don't have any information. I have no information on that one, so I mean, it's possible
I've got a
that,
Facebook
it's possible he sent me a list. But I don't have anything else.
The 493. That's the one that we're thinking.
Got to get on the I don't understand why, man.
Then it's following you in now. They ain't gonna give you anything for it.
Take care.
All right.
Count down in 20 days.
I'm counting.
Stay.